Amadeus, 1984, looked like a refined period drama, but behind the powdered wigs and candlelit halls was pure chaos. Actors sank so deeply into character that the crew grew genuinely concerned. Costumes were so tight they drew blood, and Mozart even ended up with an MTV-style promo video that stunned everyone on set. With the 2025 Amadeus series on the way, it's time to uncover the strangest truths behind the Oscar-winning classic. From Tom Hulce learning piano from scratch, to real rivalries forming off-camera, to dangerous fire scenes filmed in a historic theater. What madness really unfolded behind the scenes? These are the strangest, most unbelievable facts that made Amadeus legendary. Fact 1. How a soccer injury changed Amadeus forever. One of the strangest behind-the-scenes moments in Amadeus came from a last-minute casting crisis. The role of Mozart's lively wife, Constanza, was originally set to be played by Meg Tilly. She had already completed rehearsals, fitted her costumes, and was fully prepared for filming to begin. Then, out of nowhere, everything fell apart. Just days before shooting, Tilly joined a friendly cast soccer game and tore a ligament in her leg. A freak accident, completely unrelated to the film, suddenly left the production without its Constanza and no time to spare. Panic set in. They needed a replacement immediately. Elizabeth Berridge was cast almost overnight. There were no chemistry tests, no long auditions. She was simply dropped into the role and told to run with it. Yet her performance felt seamless, as if she'd always belonged in the film. Fact 2. The Oscar presenter who forgot the nominees. It didn't happen on the set of Amadeus. It happened on Hollywood's biggest stage. At the 57th Academy Awards in 1985, the legendary Sir Laurence Olivier stepped up to present Best Picture. Tension filled the room. The teams behind The Killing Fields, A Passage to India, Places in the Heart, and A Soldier's Story waited anxiously for their film to be read aloud. Olivier opened the envelope, looked out at the audience, and simply announced, Amadeus. That was it. No list of nominees, no build-up, just the winner. For a moment, no one knew what was happening. Had he skipped a step? Was it intentional? An Academy official rushed on stage to confirm that Amadeus was indeed the winner, smoothing over the confusion. When producer Saul Zaentz accepted the Oscar, he graciously thanked Olivier, then carefully read out the names of all the other nominated films, giving them the recognition the presenter had forgotten. Fact 3. Playing with fire. Literally. One of the most striking things about Amadeus is how real it looks. And that realism came with serious risk. Director Milos Forman was obsessed with authenticity, especially in the opera sequences. So instead of using modern lighting, he insisted on illuminating everything with only natural light inside Prague's historic Estates Theater, the very same 18th century wooden building where Mozart premiered Don Giovanni in 1787. To achieve the look he wanted, the crew filled this priceless, centuries-old theater with open flames, candles everywhere, fire pots lining the stage, and flickering light bouncing off silk costumes, velvet curtains, and wigs powdered with highly flammable materials. It was gorgeous. It was atmospheric. And it was unbelievably dangerous. Patricia von Brandenstein, the film's art director, later confessed she had nightmares about accidentally burning the building to the ground. I thought God would truly punish me if this place caught on fire, she said. Every warm glow you see in those scenes isn't CGI or studio lighting. It's real fire, captured in real time, contributing to the film's beauty, and raising the stakes behind the scenes in a way few viewers ever realized. Fact 4. The Skywalker Shadow. Before Tom Hulce redefined Mozart with his wild, brilliant performance, another actor believed the role was destined for him. Mark Hamill. After Star Wars, Hamill had gone to Broadway and spent months playing Mozart on stage, 8 shows a week. So when the film was announced, he seemed like the obvious choice. But director Milos Forman didn't even let him audition. Why? Forman later said Hamill's fame as Luke Skywalker was simply too overwhelming. The lightsaber was too bright, the shadow of Skywalker too long. Audiences, he felt, wouldn't see Mozart. Only Luke. The role went to Tom Hulce instead, while Hamill was left wondering what might have been. And he wasn't the only contender. At various points, Tim Curry, Mel Gibson, and even Mick Jagger were considered. Fact 5. The casting that almost happened. Mark Hamill wasn't the only big name who nearly shaped Amadeus. The casting process was a whirlwind of what-ifs that reads like an alternate universe Hollywood lineup. For Mozart, a young Kenneth Branagh actually believed he had the role, until he was suddenly dropped when Milos Forman decided the leads should be American. Tim Curry, who'd played Mozart on Broadway, and a rising Mel Gibson were also considered. Even Mick Jagger auditioned, only to be turned down. And Salieri? The role that made F. Murray Abraham a legend almost went to Al Pacino or Donald Sutherland. But the strangest twist came from a studio willing to fund the entire $18 million film. On one condition: cast Walter Matthau as Mozart. Forman refused instantly. Matthau was over 60, Mozart died at 35, and the idea of the odd couple star in a pink wig was simply too absurd. Fact 6. The impossible musical perfection. When Tom Hulce was cast as Mozart, he faced one huge problem. He didn't play piano at all. Forman offered hand doubles and camera tricks, but Hulce refused. If he was going to play Mozart, he wanted the performance to feel real. For 6 months before and throughout filming, he practiced piano 4 to 6 hours a day, learning the actual Mozart pieces used in the movie. He even mastered one melody upside down, playing it lying on his back, a stunt he performs himself on screen. The most astonishing part? Music scholars later analyzed the film frame by frame and confirmed that every single key Hulce touches matches the music exactly. Not one mistake. Not one mismatched note. What you see and what you hear are perfectly synchronized, a level of authenticity almost unheard of in film, and a remarkable tribute to both Hulce's dedication and Mozart's genius. Fact 7. The real man in the mask. The image of a masked messenger driving Mozart toward madness is one of Amadeus's most chilling moments, but it never happened. Salieri never commissioned the Requiem. The real story is just as strange, but involves someone entirely different. Count Franz von Walsegg, an eccentric nobleman who secretly hired composers to write music so he could claim it as his own. In 1791, he approached Mozart to compose the Requiem Mass for this very purpose. Mozart died before completing it, and it wasn't Salieri who finished the work. It was composer Franz Süssmayr, possibly Mozart's student. So the film's central mystery, the masked figure and Salieri's sinister plot, is pure dramatic invention by playwright Peter Schaffer. Brilliant, unforgettable, and completely fictional. Fact 8. The real-life rivalry. In Amadeus, the tension between Salieri and Mozart feels electric, almost too real. And that's because, behind the scenes, it was real. F. Murray Abraham later admitted that he genuinely grew resentful of Tom Hulce during filming. Hulce had been close with Meg Tilly, the original Constanza, and Abraham recalled feeling left out as they shared private jokes and laughter. "I was pushed out," he said. "I began to have nasty feelings that were exactly like Salieri's toward Mozart." Hulce confirmed it too. Some days they were friendly, other days he felt suspicious and competitive. The rivalry on screen wasn't just acting, it was something they were actually experiencing. That raw tension bled into every scene, giving both performances an intensity that helped Amadeus become a masterpiece, and earned Abraham his Oscar. Fact 9. The deliberate confusion. The iconic scene where a dying Mozart dictates his requiem to Salieri is the film's emotional peak. Frantic, intense, and almost painfully real. And that's because the confusion on F. Murray Abraham's face wasn't acting. While filming, Tom Hulce, Mozart, intentionally jumped ahead, skipped lines, and altered the pace of the dictation to throw Abraham off. He wanted Salieri's panic and frustration to feel genuine, and it worked. When Abraham blurts out that Mozart is going too fast, that was his real reaction, not a scripted one. This clever bit of improvisation, layered over weeks of musical rehearsal, created a scene that feels alive, chaotic, and utterly authentic, because in that moment, both men were truly struggling to keep up with Mozart's genius. Fact 10. The whiskey-fueled laugh. Mozart's wild, high-pitched laugh is one of the most unforgettable sounds in Amadeus. Giddy, strange, and just unhinged enough to make everyone around him uncomfortable. But keeping that laugh consistent turned out to be a bigger challenge than anyone expected. Months after filming, when producers needed extra audio for post-production, Tom Hulce tried to recreate the laugh, and couldn't. His voice simply wouldn't hit those shrill notes anymore. No matter how hard he tried, the sound just wouldn't come out. So he reached for an unconventional solution: whiskey. After a few stiff drinks, his vocal cords loosened just enough for him to summon that manic, iconic giggle. It worked, and every time he needed to re-record the laugh, the same method had to be repeated. While some claim the real Mozart may have had an unusual laugh, Hulce invented this one himself, after Milos Forman challenged him to create something bold and unforgettable. And he certainly delivered. And that's the unbelievable truth behind the chaos, rivalry, and accidental genius that shaped Amadeus, 1984. A refined masterpiece on the surface, pure madness underneath. Which strange fact surprised you the most? And do you think any of these wild moments actually made the film better? Tell us in the comments below. If you want more hidden stories and behind-the-scenes secrets from classics like Amadeus, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more cinematic deep dives.